Some people can be mean and call you bad names, like idiot or jerk. It feels nice when my mentor says my real name.
In our world today, we rely a lot on nicknames to label people.
For many of our kids, particularly kids who struggle with attention, attending in class, or behavioral issues, their name is often said with a kind of a negative note to it.
When a teacher has 25 children and Tim is constantly the one disrupting, that name isn't often used in a positive context, and he may not even hear it in a positive way at home either. So for him to be able to hear it once a week, knowing that this person's going to speak his name in a way that's affirming and in a way that values him, that's very empowering.
I believe that children don't hear their name spoken often enough, and when they hear it, particularly from a mentor, it gives them a warm feeling inside that this person knows me, that I am special because they're calling me out by name.
People didn't call me by my name that often because I was so quiet, so I was usually like forgotten.
But for me to be called my name, like I just took it as it means you care enough. Like if you care enough to know my name, then there must be something with you.
And when they hear you calling their name, and they hear it as a precious name, and they know that you're saying it with love, it's a new thing for them, and you can just see them filling, and you can see them smiling, and it's amazing.
The relationship works because mentors are consistent and because mentors invest in just one child.
You go to spend time with just them, just because they are that special. That's a pretty new concept for a lot of the kids.
I got to school, he was really quiet. I'm like, what's going on, Mel? And he's like, nothing. I'm like, well, I just kind of feel like you're quiet. I'm like, is there something happening? And he goes, why are you here? And I said, I'm here just to kind of hang out with you.
This little guy comes up and he tugs on my pant leg and he goes, how many kids does my Kids Hope lady have? And I stopped and I looked at him. I said, just you. Go back to my lesson. He's still standing there and I look at him. He goes, what about next year? And I said, just you. And the next, just you. He gets a big smile on his face. He goes back to his seat. I'm sure he didn't learn any of the addition lesson, but he learned a lesson that was life-changing to him. It was so important to him.
All these kids are like, oh, take me. And I was like, no, I'm only here for Brantley. And so the next week he says, oh, who'd you take? You know, I know I wasn't here last week, but what kid did you take? And I go, I didn't take any kid. I go, you're the only kid I meet with every week. You know, we're walking to our mentor place, and he, you know, I could see a huge smile on his face, and he got this little strut, you know, as we walk to our mentor time. So he knows that, you know, I'm only here to see him.
A lot of my teachers weren't really involved, like, were there for me. I was just another student. And with Cheryl, she was there for me and only me.
It's a building of relationship. It's not just a come in and work with 5 kids and hope you touch one of them or impact one of them.
One student, one teacher is the perfect class size, but unrealistic.
I go to bed at night thinking, man, I didn't even get to so-and-so and so-and-so today. There's so many needs out there with 30 kids in a class.
This mentor is giving this child 60 minutes all to themselves, whereas I may be able to only give them 5 minutes before I have to move on.
Even to have somebody to sit one-on-one with a child and let that child read to them is just such valuable time that simply isn't found in schools.
One of the most frequently asked questions by children early on in the relationship is, are you coming back to see me?
I have one student who actually runs me down every Kids Hope Day and jumps on me. It's a Kids Hope Day. Are they coming for us? They're coming.
Even if the child doesn't speak those words to you, that thought is in their mind. Are you coming back to see me again?
I remember like the first couple of months, I was counting down the days for her to leave, like for her not to come back and not to show up. Like I think about it now, like I wanted to test her, but I wanted her to stay at the same time.
This tells us something about the needs of children today. They need to be able to depend on somebody.
You can see the disappointment if they have to cancel or if there's a problem or something happens. So they look forward to that time.
There was days where like she wouldn't come or like she would send somebody else, and like it was it was not good for my teacher if Cheryl didn't show up on Tuesday.
I remember once my teacher coming to me and saying that Penny couldn't come that day or something, and I was like really disappointed that she couldn't come that day, but that was only once. That was it. Like out of the 3 years, she was there every single time.
Just showing up is really what you need to do, and you need to show up every week, because that child then begins to believe that they are something special in your life.
I was a manipulative kid. Like, I remember, like, some days I laid it on thick where, like, she was gonna go home and pull all her hair. And, you know, she kept coming back.
If you want to have a lasting long-term impact on the life of your child, being able to be faithful each week will probably be the most important thing you can do.
I really think the power of self-confidence and a child beginning to feel worthy and being told over and over that they are smart enough and they are strong enough and they have everything it takes to make it in this world. It's not just a one-time thing, telling somebody that. You have to tell them over and over, and you have to show him over and over.
Nobody went to college in my family. It was never a goal of any sort of my parents for me to go to college, just high school. And then I met Cheryl.
She didn't judge me for like not having as high of a reading level, and was just like very kind and understanding about it, and like always had a huge smile whenever like we'd read our books, and like compliment me when I got something right, and like really encourage me.
My child battled with self-confidence from the very beginning. In fact, one of my favorite stories is when we were first meeting together, one of our first times meeting together, we were reading a story the teacher had assigned for him to read, and he said to me, "Oh, Miss Joyce, I don't read those words." And I just kind of smiled and said to him, well, why don't we try reading them together? And so we did. And it really did not take long at all to realize that not only did he read those words, but he read many, many other words too. He was a wonderful reader. And I told him so quite often. And it took a few times for him to realize, and by the time third grade came around, he was a fabulous reader. He read with inflection, confidence, just so enjoyed listening to him read.
They know, they feel it, and that emotional investment, I think, it pays off not only in that moment, but you see them grow so much so that they are able to move on and be successful in their life.
Every child needs someone to believe in them and to love them just the way they are.